What's up, guys? Thanks for coming in here early. Appreciate you guys showing up. How does it sound? You got voice. We got guitar happening. Everything's happening. It should be after last night's debacle. I did thank God I did this. I did a test stream last night because I got my Pod Go, so I wanted to unbox it and do it live. Holy crap, what a mess! I learned a couple things though. I learned how to keep my screen a little bit tidier for you guys to see, which is, I think, going to be helpful here. And I also learned that the Pod Go and the Helix don't use the same interface, and that OBS, the streaming software, can't switch audio inputs on the fly. So that was good to know too. Learned a couple things. All right, so what we got for amp-wise? Hit me with some suggestions. Right now I'm just, this is my Placator Power, one of my presets that's on the marketplace I'm just messing around with. So Nikki T, you want just a clean one to start? Okay. Anyone else? I saw, what else here? Defcon Clark, you were there last night going through misery with me. Thank you. Appreciate you sticking around. JTM 45 or Fullerton. I love the JTM 45. Okay, we got some clean. All right, so since we're getting some little bit of clean, a little bit of edge of breakup suggestions, I can get kind of both. I can get kind of both with the JTM 45, so let's do that. JTM 45 is one of the best, most all-around diverse amps in here. So yeah, I can hit this. We can cover a clean edge of breakup. We can get it really dirty. We're going to work our way. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. How's that? That's better. You guys can now see my screen, correct? Singing lead tone will definitely be a part of that. Once I can get you guys to see my screen. How's that? We see the screen? Okay, we got screen up. Good. Everything's working. Holy crap. It's a miracle. All right, so for a lot of this, I'm going to be using pedal edit mode too, so I can kind of be here with you guys and show you what's going on here. Pedal edit mode is like one of the best things in the Helix that I feel like no one ever talks about, and it kind of bugs me that no one ever even mentions it. So I'll show you what I'm talking about in a little bit. For now, let's get this amp going. Yeah, let's do the bright J45. Cabs, we're going to do a dual cab. Let's see, what do we feel like cab-wise? I like the G25s for the Marshall usually. Something also to consider, you know, I'm pretty adamant about making use of the stock cabs and finding ways to make them sound really good. So I kind of want to walk you through a little bit of process that I go through here for the people that slag on the stock cabs always, and just kind of my process for getting a good tone. If you're not sure, and not everybody is, you know, sometimes you take what you personally know for granted. People might not know what works or what doesn't work with a certain amp, and all you got to do is a quick Google search. Find one for sale or find, you know, a Wikipedia page about the amp, and you'll see some amp combinations with the right speakers and the right cabinets, and that usually can get you in the ballpark of what you want. All right, so let's see. For one of my dual cabs, I do always like to use the 212 interstate. So I use the dual cabs, and it's gonna make a little bit more sense. Let's pick the cab first, and then I'll get into what the heck I'm doing. Let's go with the G25s. So let's hear this stock as is out of the box. Not bad. Something that I'm going to put a volume pedal. I always have a volume pedal on and I don't have it on, and I'm doing it with my foot and it's not doing anything. So I'm just going to throw volume pedal here. There we go. Okay, so to the cabinets. On the G25s, I was just reading some of the comments. Yeah, we got greenback 25s. Okay, seems to be cool. All right, so for the greenback, I'm going to try to go with the 57 right on top of it, and I'll bring the high cut down to like 6K-ish with no early reflections. And with the interstate, I usually like to use this as my bottom end, my low end when it comes to my amps. So for that, I really like the 4038, and I back it up and I take off everything else, add a little bit of early reflections between 40 and 50. And one thing about using the dual cabs, which I mean, I don't think it should be a hard thing to get thrown in there, but for some reason one speaker's in each ear and that always bugged the heck out of me. So if you're listening in stereo, you'll hear that the sound is only in one ear. So for some reason, these are stereo and can't be summed to mono on their own. But if you drop something like a regular EQ block back here, let's keep it simple with a low-high shelf. Now you're going to hear it fill in the sound and be straight down the middle, which I think is much more useful. Another thing that people don't normally do with this, or don't at least talk about or suggest doing in some of the groups, you have these level controls. You don't be shy to use these. So now that we're summed to mono, I'm usually going to keep my 57 right up front because that gives me that nice sizzle. Guitar output is doubled, so I'll bring that down. How's that balance-wise? I can't hear it on my end, so I just brought the Helix down a little bit. So yeah, what I got now on the 212, I got just the 57. So if I dial out the 212 totally, how do I get two separate cabs in one block? You could just do it right here, Nick. When you put in a cab, you have these options here, single or dual, and you just click dual. This is one of those things that took me a while, hearing mostly acoustic. Oh, so you're hearing my actual guitar, not the Helix guitar. Okay, so I could bring that back up. Could definitely bring this up a little bit more, I think. This is a little bit harder to do because I have the live mic right here. How do I avoid that picking up my strings? Like I said, I'm still figuring out the live streaming thing. Wonder if I can bring this closer to me, if that'll maybe eliminate some of that. So now do you see this? All right, well, whatever. You're going to see my microphone. Deal with it. That's better? All right, cool. So right now all you're hearing is the 57 with the greenback speakers. So again, Nikki, to go back to your question on the cabs, you click dual here, and then it'll give you these two tabs, and that allows you to select both of them. And then, yeah, you just go from there. It always defaults to the one, which one is it? It always defaults to one that I literally never use, the Lead 80. I literally never use that, but it always defaults to it. So you just have your two cab options right here, and you work off of that. So again, I dialed out all of the 4038, so you're just hearing the 57. Which is cool. It might get a little sizzly, So I just take this and I bring this in, and I'm going to balance that out that way. And now what I'm going to do with my feet here, I'm going to hold down the mode, hold to edit. I'm going to select the 212 interstate. I'm going to go to my level, and now watch my level. So you see the level on the cab block going up and down, and I'm doing that hands-free so that I could play and adjust at the same time. So here again, it's just the 57, and watch this here, watch this level. I'm going to start rolling that in with my foot. And you can keep it wherever you like it. Find that spot. I think that sounds okay, at least in my headphones for now. And now on my feet, I see exit. And just hit exit, and it takes me out of it. And now my pedal board is functioning once again. Yes, exactly, Alex. That's exactly what we're doing here. Interesting use of the lead 80. I usually wind up always getting it. I guess I could gate the mic, but I'm figure that out for next time. All right, just let me live for now. I'm just lucky that this is even working. All right, so we have a little bit of a bass tone. Now we can actually get to doing some amp adjustments. The J45, I like to kind of keep a little less broken up. I like the mids dimed up, bring some of this down. This is just also some experience using this, just over time, getting a feel for what I like. Usually treble and presence are always winding up coming down because I have the high cut in the block. I have the high cut in the cab block too, so that helps to smooth everything out. See, I went a little too much on the treble, so I'm just gonna bring some of that back. Cool. And let's give a touch of sag. I like to bring the biases up. For those of you that don't know what the biases do, you know, let's do a pedal edit mode again. Again, I held down the mode. I'm clicking on my amp with my feet here, and I'm going to page over to my bias. Okay, so now you'll see my bias here. See that going up and down? So we're going to hear what that does if I turn my volume on. So you can hear when it's low, it's kind of like a little bit more of a muted sound and just gets a little bit more alive, in my opinion, as you bring the bias up. I like it about there. I'm going to switch over to the bias X. Same thing. Let's hear what it's like without. Yeah, it kind of like, it's just like a little mushy like that. It just gives it a little bit more, yeah, like you said, thickener. That's a good way to put it, John. A little thickener. Okay, so now I could use that as my starting point for a clean sound. And you might be not thrilled with how that sounds right now. But check out what I'm going to use my Calligraphic. This is one of the most flexible pedals. Oh, wait, I just did something with my pedal edit mode. I want this to be back to 0. Make sure you exit your pedal edit mode. All right, so that's back to 0. Cool. So this is one of the most flexible things that you can do, and that, again, I don't see a ton talked about, is using this Calligraphic EQ. Super flexible, and it could really help shape what the amp is going to sound like. So if we're going to take this first snapshot and make this into a clean sound, right? We had some requests for some clean. I'm definitely going to take out some of these mids. So let's make this snapshot 2 kind of like our base where we're at here. A little more on that. Okay, we're probably going to wind up changing that too. Snapshot 1. To get some clean, I'm going to right click and I'm going to have this controlled by snapshots. If you've never done this on HX Edit, this is how you do it. Again, I'm on my mids. I'm going to scroll all the way down to snapshots. Click on that. And you'll see now it gives me that bracket. So that means that I'm now controlling it with snapshots. And now you can see just with that mid knob, it kind of gives it a nice little clean sound. And that's with a Marshall, so you can get a pretty decent clean town. That's sound and tone in one word, in case you're wondering. That's a good idea too. Andrew's in the comments. He said using the dual cab block, using the same cab with a different mic combination. One of the most famous combinations is Royer 121 ribbon mic with a 57, and just using the same cab. It's like as if you mic the speaker with 2 microphones. Another really effective way of doing it. Cool. So let's back to the calligraphic now. So for my clean sound, what do I want here? So I'm going to add a little bit of sparkle with this. So again, I'm going to right click this, control it with snapshots. And again, this is another useful thing. Forgot I wanted to mention this with the EQ. So let's actually eliminate this. Forget what I just said about doing this part. So here we go. I'm going to act like I've never EQ'd anything before and I have no knowledge of EQing. This is a great tool that you have in the Helix using an EQ and pedal edit mode to learn how to EQ things. So I'm going to, again, go back into pedal edit mode. I'm holding down the mode. I'm going to select the calligraphic, and now I have the parameters laid out across my feet. And what you should definitely do, and I suggest you try this at home, go through each parameter. So right now I'm on the 80 Hertz parameter, and you're going to see it fluctuating with the foot. With my foot here, you're going to see it going up and down. And even if you have no clue what the heck you're listening for, you can at least start relating what these sound like and how to use them. Yeah, muddy and booming. 80 is not a great frequency for guitar. So, yep, drop off some of the 80 Hertz. It's a great suggestion. So when you're just messing around with this, use your foot on the pedal edit mode just to... too much. It doesn't need a ton of tweaking, so now I'm going to shift over to the 240, and same thing, you'll see that start going up and down. And now, same thing, you just strum a chord and listen to what 240 does to your sound. And eventually you'll land on a spot that you think sounds best. I call the 240, I call it the box frequency because that's where it sounds boxy and not great to me. I'm also mostly a single coil user for the last couple of years, I guess. So I try to get the humbuckers to be a little bit more single coil like or kind of like Filtertron like. So that was just a little adjustment. Let's hear bypass. You hear that? How just that slight little tweak. And then same thing. I'm just gonna again page over with my foot to 750. Do the same thing. Here's what it's like off. So here 750 is starting to get a little bit more guitar friendly and something that you might want to boost up. Here it is without it. The sound almost sounds like it disappears. Right about there, it starts to wake up. And there you get, yeah, it's exactly right. Andrew just said it's like a tube screamer mid-frequency. It's exactly right. If you were to just use this as a pedal, for example, and I just dime that 750 and I bring up the level, you have a tube screamer right there that you can shape and make your own. Using this EQ pedal, you really have an unlimited number of options, especially if you're not happy with some of the drives in the Helix. So yeah, let's get back to... I'm just going to give that a little bit of a boost just so that'll kick it up a little bit more in the mix. Now, 2200 is the fun guitar frequency here. Let's hear what we got without it. Yeah, that sound like totally disappears without the 2200. It literally sounds like got a hand over your mouth. This one you can kind of cheat and go a little bit further than what you think sounds good on your own. Again, I tour full time, so I use this live everywhere. I always kind of give the 22 a little bit more love than sounds good on its own in here, because that'll help you cut through the mix, that 2200. Yeah, Alex, that's pretty much what you could do for a lead tone, is diming that 750 and bumping up this 220. So let's move to the 6600. Again, if you're just joined, I'm using my feet. I'm using pedal edit mode, and I am doing that with my foot from what you see on the screen. Here's 6600 off. Yeah, nothing. So you could hear the higher this goes, it could get a little bit harsh. It's definitely a, I don't know, sprangly? Is sprangly an adjective used for tone? That's what it kind of reminds me of. So you could boost this, but just be a little bit careful. Yeah, a little bit of love there. Won't hurt you. So now I'm going to exit pedal edit mode so it saves. And now I have my clean sound. Yeah, John, you know what? You're actually, it could be a shelf, but I like to be able to fine tune this. I actually like putting the shelf after the amp and cab as like kind of a sweetener for the sound. So let's rename this clean, I guess, right? And there we have our first snapshot. Now no sound is fun without reverb. So yeah, I've been torturing myself enough with no reverb. For Marshall, I always go with the Legacy. And again, you go right here and you have access to all your Legacy effects. I don't really mess around with stereo stuff. It doesn't do a ton for me. And let's go with the plate. Hey Steve, do you usually use post effects like EQ and comp in the Helix for front of house, or do you leave it all to front of house engineer? So I dial my presets in at home. I've got the Bayer Dynamic DT770s, and I feel like they translate pretty good for live use. The kind of the trick is you got to make them really loud. Like the headphones on the Helix can really get loud. So I turn them up and I try to make it sound bad. I turn it up until it sounds bad. And that's usually where I make my tweaks and my adjustments. For live use, pretty much I only really use my global EQ for high and low cuts. Mostly just high cuts though. Low cuts usually off or very minimally on. But some rooms, like we just played a church around here. I made a video about that, actually, a separate video. And it was just like, I could not get a good sound because the walls were all concrete and the tile floor. It was huge, high domed ceiling. It was a mess. It was a sonic disaster. But I just went to my global EQ, kept my presets the same, global EQ, and just blanketed it. And that usually gets me out of a pinch if I ever need it. Good question, though. Yeah, it was a horrible room. Not fun at all. All right, so reverb. This is kind of one of my, I guess this would be considered my second trick after the EQ. If you've seen any other my other videos recently, I've been really big on parallel effects loops. So again, what I did there, just click the reverb and drag it down. And if you're one of those people that don't think the Helix reverbs are very good or usable, try this, because this changed everything for reverbs for me, and I've become obsessed with it. So what I just did is, I split this here. Everybody has seen this before, doing the split path here. Nothing new there. I feel like that's been seen 1.5 million times. But what you're going to do on this path is turn your mix up obnoxiously loud. Anytime, Liska, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but thank you for the question. So I'm going to make this obnoxious and super washy. I'm going to add a little bit of pre-delay so it lets the notes come through. Take the high cuts off. So here's what this sounds like as is. Don't worry, we're going to fix this. So it's like a nice sound, but it's definitely way too washed out. So I click here. This is your mixer, and this is essentially what mixes the two paths that you just split. So I'm going to go to my B level, which is this one, right? This new one that I just created. This is my B. Go to my level. Drop it about, usually 10 is enough, depending on the effect and what you're going for. Now let's hear what that sounds like. A little too heavy on the decay. I'm going to bring that down a little bit. Might need to bring that mix down a little bit more here. Cool. I think that gives me, I kind of call this like a bed effect, where like it gives you that nice note out front, and then it just kind of rests in a bed. Yeah, I'm definitely going to miss the parallel paths on the Pod Go. That's one thing I do wish it had, because this has been probably my favorite thing to do when it comes to making presets here. Thank you, Frank. I see your super chat. Thank you. Thank you for everything that you do. You're the man. Frank with shot, everybody. The dude. So that would be like an okay bass clean sound. Maybe I want to just juice this a little bit more in the front, because I'm not a compressor clean guy. I like to have a little bit of an edge of breakup to it, where if I put it on the bridge pickup and slam it, I like it to break up a little bit. I'm just going to add a touch more drive here. Yeah, I think that would be okay. I like to be able to slam it and get a little bit of a breakup, so that when I ease up and go to the middle position, it really fills out. Also, switching picks. I usually use this like a 1 mil Dunlop, and then this is a super bendy like Fender medium, I guess, size. Pick makes a huge difference when you're messing with that. Dynamic split, dude. Honestly, it's not for me. Dynamic split is definitely not. I mean, it's cool. It's definitely cool. It's not something I'm going to. It's not something I'm going to make a ton of use of. I think it's a cool feature, though. Any other questions so far? I'm going to check that in 1 sec. Now that I beat the hell out of my strings. Tuning in the Helix sucks, everybody. Oh no, it worked. I'm in tune. What hell? What happened? I usually put in a parallel only the delay and leave the reverb up. Interesting. So Ricardo, what I like about having this here is that I just like having that initial transient note popping through. So I just like, as opposed to having it up here with the mix down, say like to 20-ish. So it's like, it's there, but it's not as apparent. Oh, good. It saved that for me. That was nice. You see how you get more of the note this way? And it allows it to be more flexible. So you can mess with your decay and all your other parameters, having a lot more flexibility this way. Oh, Frank's dropping hints. 3.0. What's it? Could one be on one line and just boost the pre-delay? Let's try it. It's a good question, John. If I goose that pre-delay, bring the mix down to a tolerable level. Yeah, I mean, theoretically that could work, John. I think that sounds pretty decent. It's pretty cool. Trails off. Yeah, I leave it there the whole time. That's really only if I switch them off, and I don't usually use that. Oh, for the Pod Go users. Okay, we might get that. Is that what we're tipping at in here? Okay, you're saying for the Pod Go users, that's a good way to work around it. That's a good idea, John. Thank you for that. Yeah, Ricardo, it's definitely they're both usable by far. Cool. So, yeah, if you want to throw other toys in here, I usually would throw like a mod chorus. I bring the high cut all the way down because I like it dark. Let's set that to a quarter. So if anyone doesn't know how to do that, by the way, you click on this clock right here and it syncs you to the tap tempo, which you see up here. That'll sync you to the tap tempo. Just clicking this little clock. And bring my mix down a little bit. So now the parallel path really comes in handy with the delay. Like you get away with it with the clean either way, with the reverb. But now when the delay is on, it opens up a lot of more possibilities. And now you hear those delays hitting that plate reverb hard, which I think is pretty cool. Might bring down the decay a bit, though. I think I brought that up before on accident. Yeah, and you hear that nice little shoo, shoo, shoo from the delay happening. All right, let's get this crunching. How about that? So now I'm going to right click everything and change it to Snapshots. Now that I'm going to work on Snapshot 2, change that to Snapshot. Just a little bit more gain here. Again, I'm going to rely on this for my crunchiness here. I'm going to not be shy at all with bringing this up. So without even touching the amp settings, just using a little bit more gain on the amp, so I did touch that, and just goosing the level of the graphic EQ in front of it. I don't know if I hit the strings hard or if it's just the mic picking this up. That's probably going to annoy me so much if I listen back to this, but I have to figure out something. I think Alex was suggesting maybe gating the mic would be a good idea. So for next time, I'm living and learning here. And now that I'm going crunchy, let's really have some fun with these two. Just right-clicking those, going to Snapshots, boosting them up a little bit. Ricardo, we're on the JTM. So you can get your Angus on. And that's, again, just from doing that with the EQ. Let's rename this Crunch. Let's compare these now. So the good thing about setting up the clean sound, I've got a video about how I set up my clean sounds to be like an edge of breakup thing. I'll answer that in 1 second, Thomas. I just saw your question. But the good thing about having your amps on the edge of breakup here is that they're already starting to compress on their own so that you won't get a drastic volume increase. So if you look at this, look at the EQ, I'm boosting it by 2 dB and some EQing, and I also have some gain going up on the amp. But how about the volume balance between the two? Pretty balanced. Trying to understand whether the delays and the reverb on the top path still sound good on the Pod Go or just different. That sounds excellent. Thank you, Thomas. The only thing is that with the Pod Go, you're not going to be able to drag these down into a separate path unless that maybe Frank was dropping sweet nothings in your ear about maybe being in 3.0. But John was suggesting that you could crank up the pre-delay on the reverb and get a similar effect. So there's that too. Hello, Audrey. My pup is here. My best friend. She's hanging out by my feet. All right, so that's pretty much what I would do for my crunch sound. Literally just leave it there. I might roll a tone back a little bit. Yeah, I think that's a cool crunch sound. Now let's go into Snapshot 3. I might start changing where my volume pedal is now. Maybe not. If I can avoid changing EQ on the amp, I'm going to. Just my personal preference. My favorite, Dianna Drive. Another thing, when you add a pedal after you're making your snapshots, always remember to bypass it. You see how it's on all these now? So I'm just going to do that. Okay, and stock out of the gate, the Dianna Drive sounds awesome. Dianna Drive really never needs anything. I might just bring down the gain and boost that a little bit. I will probably take out some low end with that, maybe a little bit more. Now that I'm on Snapshot 3, let's bring out that boxiness a little bit. And yeah, Dianna Drive just added a good amount of low end. Pretty mean sounding as it is. I think I'm happy with that. Thanks, Brian. Always can rely on you to make me feel good. OBS lesson learned section of the broadcast. Yeah. Thanks, Brian. How do I stack them? I usually go light to dirty, with the exception of the EQ. I drop the EQ right before the amp, and then I'll go light to dirty. So if I was going to just start throwing some in, first of all, let's rename this to be heavier. So I got clean, crunch, and heavier as my snapshots. So this is the crunch. Heavier. And then the clean. Cool. So we got a 3 snapshot set up pretty quickly right there. You want to stack some here? We could do that. So something I would just like to usually add, Tima. I saw a Tima there. Let's do that. I just did one of those things. You guys know when you're reading a page and you scroll and you just didn't read anything? I just did that and didn't really. I know the Tima's right there. So for the Tima, I always go center clip, and let's see what it sounds like first. This is my clean snapshot. That's not so clean anymore. So the Tima I always use as my low gain edge of breakup sound. Yeah, Thomas, this is pretty similar to how I would do this on my real board. And I would probably not even include this in a snapshot, but I would keep this if I hit the mode switch and assign it to a foot switch. So if I was going to do that, might as well while we're here. Bypass assign, and I'm just going to do something random, foot switch 5. So if I hit mode, I now have my Tima as a foot switch. You guys probably know that one already. Pretty straightforward one. Hey, Jason, what's up? Yeah, Ricardo, that's kind of my point here. Is I want to get a decent sounding tone quickly, easily, without having to use an IR. And I haven't even done anything with the post EQ yet. This is kind of just straight in. Oh, Johnny's talking dirty over there. Love the screamer, 0 gain just on level 10. So what Johnny's suggesting, Johnny's got a great channel, by the way. You guys should definitely go check out. He's now Throttles and Frets, the Scouse that everybody loves, Johnny Lee. He's talking about using a screamer, a tube screamer with 0 gain. And that's kind of what I'm doing with this pedal. When I go to the crunch setting, I kind of made my own tube screamer that I could fine tune and not add a ton of gain. This is my crunch again. Yes, Frank, Johnny Lee does rule. One of the best guys you'll ever meet in your life. I love that guy. Tom, that's a great question. Once you set these in your living room, do they sound the same at a gig, or do you have to mess with them, or just go with what you got? That is an excellent question. And sometimes I nail it, sometimes I don't. I've gotten better at it. You know, I've been doing this for a few years, and getting the hang of what's going to translate. Like I said, these are really good. I think I have a link to these in the description if you guys want to check out what I use for monitoring. And when I turn these up loud, it really does sound like the PA. But there have been times when I show up and I'm like, oh, I got this preset nailed. This thing sounds awesome. I can't wait to get it out at a show. I plug in at a show, I play it, and they're just like, dude, what the hell is that? It happens. You just got to know how to make your adjustments and tweaks. But usually, I could usually get it in with single sound check, sounding to where I want it to be. It helps to be able to hear the PA or be out in front. If you have a wireless, you can step out front and maybe hear what it sounds like out of the speaker so you know what you can adjust from there. Any other questions we're working with here? Yes, Tima is definitely the go-to. Stephen Wright Mark is here. Stephen Wright Mark and I were both in the Jessica Lynn band for a very long time. He's a very good friend. I played on one of the tracks on his most recent record. You guys should look him up. Amazing music. He's asking me, do I always use headphones to create the tones? And do I ever do this on studio monitors? So I don't have a setup here where I can plug into studio monitors and crank them up as loud as I would like. So I'm pretty much on headphones, and I also have the Line 6 power cab that I'll just crank up, hopefully when, you know, the wife's not home and I'm not going to get in trouble for it. So usually just the headphones, I just turn them up real loud. It gets me pretty close to the PA sound. Do I change the global EQ to balance depending on the house reflections? Yep, I absolutely do, John. I usually keep it about 8 on the high cut, and then I pretty much keep it flat other than that. Usually don't have to do a ton there. So depending on the room, I usually never have to put it above 8, but more often I'll be bringing it below 8. And then I just remember to reset it for the next gig. I got to say, like, Tima. It is a great pedal. Oh, I didn't even realize. See, I didn't follow my own advice and I forgot to bypass this on the crunch. Let's see what that sounds like, though. So you hear how I set up the Tima. It's kind of just a little bit of love. Maybe I'll get a little bit of bass cut. Ah, John, you are Lumpy Rutherford. You are John McClary. I got it. I was always wondering what you went by on Facebook. Line instrument out. That's actually a really good question. So I cover this in one of my output videos where I talk about how I use my outputs for live use. I found that if I was using the line out with XLRs, that it was crushing front of house and sending them way too hot of a signal. So I keep my XLR on line level, not line level. I keep it on mic level, just as if they were miking my cabinet. Same exact concept. If they're using a mic, I'm using the mic output. So I send a mic level to the front of house, and I have the 1/4 inch set up to be a line level because depending on the situation of the gig, if I have a monitor, a floor wedge, or the power cab behind me, I send those a line level. So just think about it this way. When you're working with a PA or a live show, you use microphones to get to the front of house, right? And if you're plugging into a speaker, you send a line level to the speaker, microphone to a desk. That's kind of my 2 cents about that. And that's definitely worked out pretty well for me. Line level with the power cab, line 6 output. I haven't used the L6 link with the power cab. So I can't help you on that one, sorry. Thank you, Hal. Hal's a great student. He says that he's watched all my videos, that he doesn't have any questions. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, the XLR mic level, you just learn that over time from front of house guys telling you to back off your signal, and you're just like, all right, just put it to mic. I used to do it to line, and I was just blowing up too many front of house consoles, so it stays at mic. What else we got here, fellas? Ladies, gentlemen, anybody? If you got any questions or requests, you want to try to get something else out of this, we got 3 pretty decent snapshots here, I think. Bypass that on the heavier. Yeah, mic preamps expect mic level. Makes sense. Fuzz time. Okay, we could do fuzz. So, fuzz. This is definitely... I got a request for fuzz and ambient praise and worship. Quite opposite, I guess, right? Sometimes. Let's hit that fuzz first. So I'm going to set this to be my 4th snapshot. Which one? What fuzz we want? Let's do our arbitrator. I'm going to switch back to the harder, thicker pick. So, cool trick that you've probably seen this a million times in the Facebook groups, but if you have not, I'm going to set this guitar input. So this is guitar impedance. Yeah, it's got to be almost 0 drive because it's getting heavy on there. So the input impedance has a huge impact on what you sound like. So if you're using a fuzz, drop this as low as it can go. Yeah, input impotence. That's right. So if you're a Jared Nichols fan, that kind of gets you into... That's what I think of when I play fuzz pedals now. Should probably grab my P90 Les Paul for that one. So yeah, that's my first move when I'm going with a fuzz. I'm going to drop this to 10K. Make sure. Okay, good. And just bring that down. I'm going to assign this a foot switch. So that I could check it on and off. So let's base this off of the, get this off the crunch one. Great idea. Scott's got a good tip, a good tone suggestion right there. Try rolling the tone in the neck pickup. Just take the tone totally off with the fuzz. Yeah, the input impedance makes a huge, huge, huge difference with that. There's the 10K. Now set that back to auto. I'm not a huge fuzz head, but it's definitely nice to have there. So I'm going to copy this over to Snapshot 3. I don't know, Snapshot 4, right? I'm going to paste that to Snapshot 4. Now I got to make sure I go and undo what I just did on the other snapshots. So crunch. See, that's what we don't want. Heavier, we don't want the fuzz. Make sure these are bypassed. All things that you got to always remember and think about when you're making these. Make that my fuzz. Cool. Comedian from New York that was here last night. Anyone? Yeah. We're not talking about last night anymore. Thanks, though. Yep, you can set it to a snapshot. All right. Any other last minute requests before we get out of here? I'm totally not a fuzz person. I feel like every time I have a fuzz pedal, I just want to do like... Delay tips. Depends on the use. Depends a lot for the delay settings. There's two ways to look at delay that I like to use in my head. If it's a rhythmic delay for a part of the song, like if you're doing like a dotted eighth note thing that is supposed to be like apparent and what's the word I'm trying to think of? If it's supposed to be its own sound, like its own part, then I take that delay and I put it first. I almost always use either the analog, the mod chorus echo. I love, again, the legacy effects. I really love using the analog echo, the analog with mod for swells, just turn up the modulation on those. But yeah, so if it's for a part, like a dotted eighth note part or like a really impactful slapback sound, I put those in front of the amp. And if it's for support, as in it's supporting like a solo sound, like if I was going to bring this up a little bit for the fuzz sound. And I would use that as a supporting delay as opposed to, I guess, a sonic delay where I would put that in front. Yeah, Daniel, if you're having a hard time getting a basic delay sound to sit in the mix, try putting it in the parallel path like I have it on here. Just click it and drag it down. And you could bring up the mix as much as you want and it won't get in the way. And it'll help keep your transient through. That's not a bad idea, Curtis. That's an interesting thought process too. I used to think about that often too, because if you have an effects loop in a guitar amp, then your speakers last, right? That's kind of how it is. You mic the speaker and that's what gets heard. So why would you not put all of your effects between amp and speaker? You tell me. So I just... I do it this way. I kind of think of it as outboard effects. So if I'm in a studio, they're just miking my dry guitar cabinet and then I'm doing everything in the parallel path. So it's like they have a dry signal and then a wet signal. Thank you, Kurt. See that? Thank you. So what else we got? What was 2 reverbs and a tremolo? So what was that, Alex? You were saying put this into a tremolo? That could be fun. Let's see what we got. Maybe do this on the... Cool. And now put another plate after this. So let's try the something crazy like the Ganny after that. Thank you, Jason. I see that super chat. Thank you. Thanks for stopping in, Steven. Appreciate it. So that could definitely get trippy. Okay, reverb, tremolo, reverb. We're doing it. Let's see what we got. It's kind of nice. I dig it. I'm gonna bring this level up. So now I'm gonna hit that Tima pedal on. Cool sound. Kind of like it. I might be stealing this from you, bud. How can I get this to poke through a little bit more? Intensity's all the way up. It's kind of cool. It's like a little bit of a throbbing thing. Cool. Oh, yeah. That would be a little bit, that'd be cool if you could multiply your parallel path. This would be really cool, like doing swells. My linear? Let's change that to logarithmic. By the way, if you guys didn't know that too, another useful tip. For your volume pedal, you can set it to linear or logarithmic. Logarithmic is like a slower sweep and then a drastic sweep. Linear is just a straight line sweep. Different things for different applications. Yeah, cool sound. Nice tip, Alex. Raise the decay on the first reverb. See what happens. That's probably a little low volume wise. What if I bring that up for you? Creepy. Yeah. Cool. That's going to keep going. That's a cool sound. Thanks for that. Yeah, thank you, Alex. That was a very cool suggestion. Now swap the tremolo before the bit crusher. Interesting. All right, it's been about an hour for you folks. What else we thinking? I can get one more thing, one more cool thing. Anybody got tip, question, suggestion? Thank you, Hal. Appreciate that. All right, which one? This one? Old Reliable? Do like a couple more minutes on the telly so I don't bore the heck out of you guys too much. Probably seen this guitar if you've seen any of my videos. Okay, Kurt, you get the final question here. Favorite wah pedal? Excellent question. This guitar I have not played in a minute. It's funny, it's like this is my number one gigging guitar. Like whenever I'm on the road, this is my number one guitar. And then when I'm home, I just don't want to play it because I play all my other ones, I guess. Favorite wah pedal, Kurt? Very relevant question for you to ask me, sir. So let's get rid of my fuzz for now. Wah pedals, throaty. I like the throaty because I got all this stuff happening. Whoops. Okay, get that back to normal. Got to get my sound back. I just like the throaty wah. I like that it has that deeper sound to it. I feel like it's like I don't know, is it depth? Whatever. I don't know what the terminology is for liking it, but it just gets the job done for me. Telly is bright. So now, now that I switched to the telly, I'm going to swap this to a low high cut. So this is something similar that I would do at a show with my global EQ. And I'm just going to bring that way down. Now I have a decent telly sound. Again, no EQing or changing anything. I just used the high cut block, brought it down. I could probably get away with a little more than that. Let's try 6. So the manual said I could do a parallel amp setup with the Helix, but most of the DSP won't be enough power. You could do it where if you send this path to 2A, you can get away with having 2 amps up here, but it might, you might run out of DSP. Do I change the mix on the wah? I will change the mix on the wah if I'm going for an effect. So again, another video I did recently was a cocked wah effect. So if I'm doing that and I'm just looking for it as like a filter. So how about that? You don't even probably notice that or think that it sounds like a wah at all. Let's assign this to a foot switch here and I'll show you. I'll toggle it on and off. So this is just not using the, yeah, Mick Ronson, that's right. Ooh, I'm getting close to it. Bring that mix down. Yeah, very Mick Ronson, like, here's that without the cocked wobble. Yeah, country licks with a Marshall GTM and a cocked wah. Brad Paisley would be very happy. All right, fellas. I think that's going to do it for the first official live stream. And thank you guys for sticking around and watching this. This was a lot of fun for me. I appreciate you guys writing in with questions and making this, you know, interactive and not sitting here playing with myself. It sounded naughty. But yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I'll start doing this a little bit more regular. So keep comments coming. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, maybe I'll do one soon. Thanks, fellas.